Hello, myself Azhar Bhakre. Today I will explain about the transaction management in DBMS. So, what is transaction? Transactions are set of operations that are used to perform some logical set of work. There are mainly two types of operations on transaction. First one is the read and second one is write. The read operation is used to read the value of X from the database and stores it in buffer in main memory. Next one is write. Write operation is used to write the value back to the buffer from the buffer. These are the asset properties. A represents atomicity. The entire transaction takes place at once or doesn't happen at all. Second one is consistency. The database must be consistent before and after the transaction. Third one is isolation. Multiple transactions occur independently without inference. The third one is durability. The changes of successful transactions occur even if the system failure occurs. This is explanation about the atomicity. This property ensures that either all the operations or transactions reflect in database or none. Uh, so there is a concept called rollback. If there is failure in the transaction, it aborts the execution and roll back the changes made by the transaction. The next asset property is consistency. So it explains about the database must be in consistent state before and after the execution of the transaction. This is the example. The next property is isolation. A transaction shouldn't interfere with the execution of another transaction. The last property is durability. Once a transaction completes successfully, the changes it has made into the database should be permanent, even if there is a system failure. So this is the state diagram for the transaction management. On state is the active state. If the transaction is in execution, then it is said to be active state. Partially committed state is when where one the whole transaction is successfully executed, the transaction goes into partially committed state where we have all the read and write operations performed on the main memory instead of the actual database. So the second state is a failed state. A transaction considers failed when any one of the checks fails or if the transaction is aborted while it is in the active state. And the last state is committed state. If a transaction completes the execution successfully, then all the changes made in the local memory during partially committed states are stored in the database. This is the aborted state. It goes from failed state to aborted state, and because in the previous states all the changes were only made in the main memory, these uncommitted changes are either deleted or rolled back. So, what is DBMS schedule? A series of operations from one transaction to another transaction is known as schedule. It is used to preserve the order of the operation in each of the individual transactions. There are mainly two types of DBMS schedules. First one is serial, and second one is non-serial. So non-serial schedule contains many possible orders in which the system can execute the individual operation. The non-serial schedule is type of schedule where the operation of multiple transactions are interleaved. Uh, there are types of non-serial schedule. First one is strict, cascadeless, and recoverable. Cascadeless schedule, if a transaction is going to perform read operation on a value, it has to wait until the transaction who is performing write on that value commits. Next one is recoverable schedule. Definition is the transaction is reading the value which has been updated by some other transaction. Then this transaction can commit only after the commit of other transactions which is updating value. So what is the serializability in TBMS? When multiple transactions are running concurrently, then there is a possibility that the database may be left in an inconsistent state. Serializability is a concept that helps us to check which schedules are serializable. Serializable schedule is the one that always leaves the database in consistent state. There are two types of serializability. First one is conflict and second one is view. Conflict serializability is one of the type of serializability which can be used to check whether non-serial schedule is conflict or not. Conflicting operations. The operations are called conflicting operations if all the following three conditions are satisfied. These are the three conditions. Uh, so, in this slide, there are steps for the conflict serializability. Second one is view serializability. It is type of serializability that can be used to check whether the given schedule is view serializable or not. The schedule is called as a view serializable if it is view equivalent to a serial schedule. So these are